Here.
Dan Olson.
Here. So we'll dive right in. Number 3, presentation of the 2021 mill and overlay and full depth reclamation feasibility report. Who's running with that?
That would be Eric Welch from Woodseth, who is the consultant that has completed the feasibility report on behalf of the city. Eric?
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
With the PowerPoint? Okay. So this is the 2021 mill and overlay and then full depth reclamation improvement project. This drawing shows the project areas. We have Isle Drive from just west of the Essentia Clinic all the way up to Glory Road. There's a little piece of Glory Road median that the city wants to repair. Then there's College Road from just east of Cypress Drive all the way to County Road 48. And then the Paris Road Trailhead at the south end of the city at the intersection of Paris Road and Trunk Highway 371. And then the Trunk Highway 210 lighting improvements at the intersections of Meredith Drive and Memorywood Drive. So getting into the existing conditions, this is College Road. These are actually the existing conditions and removals sheets from the plan set. The project would start just east of Cypress Drive where the roundabout improvements ended. What you see on the drawing here, the hatched area would be full depth reclamation of the existing roadway. I'll talk more about the proposed improvements later, but zoning in this project area is R3, OS, and C1. So it's all considered commercial for assessment purposes. The existing roadway was constructed in 2000. It's 65 feet wide with concrete curb and gutter. There's a trail on the south side of the road that's actually part of the Paul Bunyan Trail system. It's 10 feet wide and separated from the roadway by, I believe, about 6 feet. And the condition of that trail isn't great. When we did the ADA transition plan back in 2017, we did find most of the ADA ped ramps to be non-compliant. And then there are some issues with the trail itself as well. Back to the roadway was constructed again in 2000. It was constructed with 4.5 inches of bituminous and 6 inches of aggregate base, which is a little light for a 10-ton section in the city at this time. You'll see in the proposed improvements that we are proposing to beef that up a little bit. And then the PACER rating, or the pavement evaluation rating, back in 2019, that was completed by Bolton Mink. This section of roadway was rated as a 3 to 4, and full depth reclamation is recommended for this section of roadway. And then just some of the issues along this road, again, just the lack of the 10-ton design strength. The curb and gutter on College Road east of Cypress is in pretty poor shape. It's really deteriorated and pretty much needs 100% removal and replacement. There's some localized drainage issues along this section of the road. And then there's some leaking drainage structures that would be repaired with the project. We know there's a stormwater issue at the intersection of Cypress Drive and College Road. The force main that pumps from north on Cypress Drive down to the intersection, there is a little bit of an issue with water backing up in the ponds on the east side of Cypress. So we're looking at that issue with this report as well. And then the stormwater basin on the south side of College Road has quite a bit of sediment build up over many years of use, and we're looking at removing that as well. So if you continue east along College Road, this is the mill and overlay section of the roadway. This roadway was reconstructed in 2015 with that College Road project that extended east into the city of Brainerd. This section of roadway is 65 feet to 95 feet wide as you approach the intersection with County Road 48. PACER rating on this section of roadway is a little bit better. It's about a 6, and mill and inlay is a recommended improvement for this section of roadway. So existing conditions on Isle Drive. Again, the project is proposed to start just west of the Essentia Clinic and then head east and then north all the way up to Glory Road. This section of roadway was constructed in 3 different years. The north end, kind of west of Walmart, was constructed in 2000. And then when you get down to the curve right about here, this is kind of just southwest of Walmart. The Crosby Clinic or Cuyuna Clinic is just north of here. Once you get to here, the roadway to the west of here was constructed in 2005. And then in 2010, 2012, I believe it was. Yep, 2012. This section of aisle was reconstructed with the clinic project. And then when you get west of here, that's where that 2015 aisle drive project began. This roadway was seal coated in 2016. It's 44 feet wide, concrete curb and gutter. And again, there's a trail along the south and east side of the road that was constructed in 2000. Parts of it, again, were reconstructed in 2005 and 2012. Pacer rating on this roadway is about a 6, but FDR was the recommended reconditioning option for aisle drive. And then just some of the issues. The bituminous surface on this section of roadway is in really poor shape. After that seal coating project, it did just start to kind of deteriorate pretty quickly. Does not have that 10-ton design strength that the city is currently designing for. The curb and gutter is not in the greatest shape. There's a lot of the joints are really in poor shape, and they're probably really going to start deteriorating over the next 5 to 10 years. So you see in the proposed improvements that we are recommending 100% replacement. You may be able to get by with spot repairs here and there, but we've tried that on past projects. It doesn't always look the greatest. And then just due to the estimated number of repairs, it's just more cost effective at this point to replace everything rather than replace 50 or 60%. It just doesn't make sense economically to replace that portion of the curb and gutter. And then just as the aisle drive, as you continue to the east and then north, all the way up to aisle drive. And then getting into the proposed improvements, again, this is College Road, starting just east of the Cypress Drive roundabout. Kind of the orange color on the drawing would be the full depth reclamation. Again, 100% of the 100% of the curb and gutter is proposed to be replaced. The magenta would be the trail, replacement of the bituminous trail. And again, we know we have ADA ped ramp issues at these intersections with the city roadways. So the red on the drawing is new concrete ped ramps in those locations. And then as you continue to the east, the same full depth reclamation, replacement of the curb and gutter, replacement of the bituminous trail. And then just east of Conifer Drive, this is the Hagelin Office Park, is where that transition between the full depth reclamation project and the mill and overlay project would begin. And I don't have a sheet showing the proposed mill and overlay portion of the project, but that would just be a strict, 2-inch mill and 2.5-inch overlay. And then we would replace all the drainage structure or reconstruct the drainage structures. So there would be some spot curb and gutter replacement along that section of roadway, and then replacement of the trail all the way to County Road 48. Another improvement proposed along College Road is extension of that existing force main. As I discussed earlier, that force main comes to the south along Cypress Drive to the roundabout to a structure located right here. And that's kind of tied in with this pond system on the east and north side of Cypress Drive, on the east side of Cypress Drive, north of College. What happens is there's, some hydraulic capacity issues in some of these pipes. And as that force main is pumping, it ends up sending water back to the north. So we would be tying in, extending that force main east, since we have this roadway basically exposed at this point. We run a force main all the way over to the pond located on the south side of College Road, and that would alleviate any problems with that water recirculating to the north from the force main. And then, like I said, the pond itself has filled in over the years with sediment from the roadways. You can see, at these apron outlets, there's quite a bit of sediment in this area. So the hatched area would be the cleaned portion of the project, or clean portion of the pond. Getting into Isle Drive, again, the project starts just west of the west entrance into the Essentia Health Clinic. Full depth reclamation in the roadway, replacement of all the ped ramps and concrete ped ramps and concrete entrances all the way to the right-of-way line. The city city staff has recommending taking out these bus pullouts That was in their plan comments. I don't have that in the report right now, but we are in the process of making that change as part of the plans. So this section of trail would be shortened to here with the removal of these bus pullouts. Replacement of the trail again is proposed. That's shown in magenta. As we head to the east, again, just a full depth reclamation, replacement of the curb and gutter. This section of curb and gutter just east of Falcon Drive is proposed to remain in place. That was constructed in 2014. It's likely that we can probably leave that portion of the curb and gutter in place. We'll have to, make that decision during construction if grades and everything work out okay. This is the curve by the stormwater basin. Again, just extension of that full depth reclamation project, and then continue to the north, kind of along Walmart, all the way to Isle Drive. And then also cleaning that stormwater basin located along the east side of Isle and just south of the Walmart facility there. Again, this area has filled in quite a bit over the years, so just returning that back to the plan grade. The next project would be that median in between on Glory Road between Elder Drive and Trunk Highway 371. We did go out there and actually dig a hole down in here to see what was in there, and we did find pretty much nothing but aggregate base, and I think that's what Trevor thought was in there. So it's aggregate base that's, over the years there's been some vegetation growing in there, but it doesn't look the greatest, and it's a real headache for city staff to take care of. Trying to get out to that area to maintain that. It's just a safety issue. Trying to get out there, and then a safety issue trying to mow that with the traffic and not throwing rocks into people's windows and stuff like that. So city staff did request that we looked at, improving that area to eliminate that maintenance issue. We looked at a couple different options. We could have went with like a low maintenance vegetation option in there. But again, that still requires maintenance. This is a pretty busy roadway, tough to get out there, just a safety issue, and really no way to get any irrigation line out there at this time. So we are proposing to basically pave that area in with concrete. So it'd be 4 inches of concrete, dig out 4 inches of that aggregate base, and then basically pave in a 4-inch concrete median. Then there's a couple signs that need to get replaced with that project as well. The next project is the Trunk Highway 210 street lighting improvements project. Just some history on that project. It kind of all began back when we were working on Memorywood Drive. A lot of the residents on that project area were concerned with the safety at the intersection of Memorywood Drive and Trunk Highway 210. And one of the options that the city discussed looking into at that time was lighting those intersections. So that kind of led into discussions with MnDOT and a possible application for LRIP funding. About that same time, there was an issue on the Cypress Drive intersection with Trunk Highway 210, and a pedestrian was actually killed. So the MnDOT did look at that, and they also wanted to include possibly lighting the Paul Bunyan Trail crossing of Trunk Highway 210 that goes under Trunk Highway 210 just east of Cypress Drive, with the thought that if that was better lit, that people would use that trail crossing versus trying to cross at Cypress Drive. So the city did apply for that LRIP funding. They got the grant. This was actually in a plan. It was in the Mapleton Road, Jasperwood Drive, and Knollwood plan, but it got pulled out because at that time, MnDOT was looking at doing a safety study on Trunk Highway 210 corridor on the west end of town. And just the city didn't really know at that time what, possible safety improvements would be proposed along Trunk Highway 210. So that plan was pulled, just waiting for that study to get done so the city could review that to see if, these street lighting improvements would still be appropriate. We didn't want to put in lights and then have to move them based on some recommendation in that study that MnDOT was doing. So at this time, we are proposing to include it with this project. There's basically 6 lights at each of these intersections, 3 lights as you approach the intersection in both the eastbound and westbound lanes. And the same thing at Meredith Drive, 3 lights in each direction as you approach the intersection. And then the last project area is the Paris Road Trailhead project. Some of these improvements have already been done by the city. The striping on the roadway is done. Some of the signage is complete. But the project is basically improving the trail in this location and the entrance into the city. This is all concrete. It'd be a one-way in and basically one-way out, trying to separate that traffic at this location and narrowing it down. The goal is to keep this as narrow as possible so we can keep motorized vehicles out of this area. City does have a problem with keeping snowmobiles and four-wheelers from using this entrance into the city. The fence would come out, but we would put in the typical, 3-foot size boulders in this area to delineate this area along between Paris Road and the State Road. And then getting into the estimated project cost, you can see the roadway improvements split out between the fold up reclamation, mill and inlay, and then the 3 city special projects, the Glory Road Median, Trunk Highway 210 street lighting project, and the Paris Road Trailhead. Total estimated project cost is about $2.7 million. And then for implementation of the project, for the fold up reclamation project, we would follow the city's assessment policy. And that is 100% of the fold up reclamation costs are assessed up to 44 feet in width. City costs would include any excess roadway width, the stormwater enforcement and pond cleaning, those trail improvements, and then the city frontage or assessments for the stormwater basements, the residential backlots, and then the city outlot on the north side of College. I'll show you where those are in some future slides here where I have the assessment drawings. And then the remaining project costs would be assessed on a front footage basis. So the estimated total project cost is $2,175,000. City cost for excess roadway width is about $141,000. The city stormwater, which includes the force main and the pond cleaning, is $190,000. And then the city trail improvements is $329,000. Estimated remaining assessable costs are about $1.5 million. Estimated frontage is $8,587, and that includes frontage on both College and Isle. So the estimated assessable cost per foot is $176 per foot. This is a little bit higher than we've typically seen on past projects, and it's likely due to the 100% replacement of the curb and gutter. We are going with a thicker section on these roadways, same that was done for Cypress, which is 6 inches of aggregate base and then 6 inches of bituminous. So that's just a couple of reasons why, these costs are higher than what we've typically seen in the past. For the mill and inlay portion of College Road, again, 100% of the costs are assessed up to 44 feet in width. City picks up that excess width, the trail improvements, and then the city frontage. Estimated project cost is $252,000. City roadway is $83,000. City trail is $53,000. Remaining assessable costs are $117,000. Estimated frontage $1,746. It comes out to $67 per foot. For the special city projects, the Glory Road median, again, that's a concrete median, is estimated at $45,000. For the street lighting improvements, estimated project cost is $179,000. Estimated MnDOT funding is 50% of construction costs, and then 8% to cover the construction engineering. That's 70. So the total of those two is $75,300, and the estimated city remaining costs are $103,000. And the Paris Trailhead project is estimated at about $63,000. And then funding for that project would come from park dedication fees. And these are the assessment exhibits. The top one is for College Road. So all the shaded properties are the parcels that are proposed to be assessed with the project. The magenta lines in this area and on each side of the road is the frontage that's proposed to be assessed with the full depth reclamation improvement project. And then the blue line is the frontage that's proposed to be assessed with the mill and overlay project. The city would assume an assessment or the cost of the frontage for the stormwater basin. And then the entire north side of College Road, where the city owns an outlot that's kind of a buffer between College Road and the residential area to the north. and then the back lots of these residential lots on Basswood and Birchwood Drive. On Isle Drive, again, all the properties proposed to be assessed are shaded on the drawing, and then the frontage is shown as the magenta drawing. It would start just on the west edge of the Brainerd Essentia Health Clinic property in this location, and then head to the east and north. City would assume an assessment for the stormwater basin located in the curve. And then the remaining assessable properties are shown all the way up to Glory Road. This slide just shows what everybody's individual assessment is estimated at. And that's also included in the report. And then the last kind of slide here is just a summary of the overall project costs. Again, the estimated total project cost is about 2.7 million. Assessments to the benefiting properties is about 1.2 million, or about 44% of the project costs. The assessments or cost for the city frontage on Isle and College Road is about 432,000. Estimated MnDOT funding for the street lighting is about 75,000. And then there's the cost of the summary of the city costs is shown at the very bottom, and that includes the roadway cost for the excess width on College Road, and that's 224,000. The roadway frontage and assessments on Isle and College would total about 432,000. The stormwater work on Isle and College is about 190,000, and the trail on Isle and College is about 381,000. And then you can see the Glory Road median, Trunk Highway 210 street lighting, Paris Road trailhead costs in there, and the total city cost is $1,440,225, or about 53% of the total project cost. And then last is just showing the proposed project schedule. Again, there's 3 resolutions on the council agenda for your, I think they're on the consent agenda for your approval. And that would be to basically call for first resolution is to do the feasibility study. The next one is to accept the feasibility study and call the improvement hearing. And then the third resolution is to authorize advertising for bid, approving the plans and authorizing advertising for bids. That's how this schedule is laid out right now. Obviously that could change if you don't want to move forward with the project at this time, but that is what's on the agenda tonight. With that, I will stop and answer any questions that you have.
I'm just curious, this schedule that's up is 2 years old. Is that just a reference point for something, or?
I must have made a mistake on there.
Okay.
You got the wrong exhibit, Eric.
Yeah, you guys are supposed to catch that for me. Hang on, I will pull up the current one. I'll pull it up here quick. That was my mistake.
That was Memory Wood and Industrial Park.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Too tiny to read here. Good eye, Zach. Council questions, comments?
I guess I've just got a very brief. I just wanted to note, and before I go any further, I'll just also note that my wife does have a financial interest in the Brainerd Lake Surgery Center, so I'm not trying to talk specifically about that aspect of the project. But in general, I just wanted to bring up again, and I know I've mentioned it before, but things like talking about how we've got excess width in some roadways that are going to be covered by the city. I just like to toss out, and it's probably not reasonable with this scope of a project, but I'd love to see roadways be designed as narrow as possible for the purpose of not having the ongoing maintenance in the future as far as that goes. I want to not say that I'm encouraging us to underbuild, but more make sure that we're not putting excess pavement down for the future traffic flow, keeping lanes as narrow as possible, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
I think I would comment a little bit on that, Zach, is that College Road is not able to do that, to narrow it down because of the way it's set up with the 4-lane. It's probably at the recommended widths, for state aid design, and you probably don't want to go narrow it. Isle Drive, I will say, could be narrowed down some, but it would up the initial costs now, because then we'd have to change the catch basin locations. But Isle Drive could be narrowed down if the city council so choose, but it will add some additional costs now. But in 20 years from now, when it needs to be rebuilt again, then it would be cheaper.
Thanks for that, Trevor. I don't know if I'm ready to advocate for that, but just that's exactly what I'm hoping to get at, is if we know we're building something that's got more pavement in it than it absolutely needs to do what we need it to do, we keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Are there safety issues that come up at all with a narrower road, or?
Oh, we've actually been narrowing some of the streets down, Connie, over the years, and making the drive lanes 11 feet wide versus 12 and 13. And actually what it does is it makes people actually drive a little bit slower because it feels tighter to the traveling public. So it's actually a traffic calming device that's working pretty good around the United States right now.
Okay, Trevor is right, though. There would be a significant cost to narrow Isle at this time, just because of all the structures that would have to get moved for the storm sewer.
Can we go back to somewhere around Nystrom's, I think it was, when you were talking about that road had been done in 2015.
Yeah.
Is that really necessary then? It's a lot different than 2000.
So in 2014, we constructed Falcon Drive, which goes to the north here, and this turn lane going into Falcon Drive. So we're proposing not to replace that curb and gutter at this time.
But can you save the bituminous in the turn lane, or
I don't think we can, because of, trying to make the roadway, try to make that cross slope work on the road.
Right.
We might have to do some minor adjustments to the profile, and that which would require us to pretty much go back to the curb, tie everything back in again. That's
Okay,
why I'm showing.
So with your pointer there, how far to the west was done in 2015? Was
In
it all?
2014
I thought you said 2015, but
with Falcon Drive.
yeah, but to the west of that.
Oh, I can give you the breakdown again here. So in 2015, that's the Isle Drive project started here and headed west and south.
Okay.
And in 2012, the clinic reconstructed from this location to about right here, basically on the east side of that bus pullout. And then the remainder of this all the way to probably about right here where the stormwater pond is in the corner, that was constructed in 2005. This right turn lane was constructed in 2014, and then the remainder of the roadway was constructed in 2000.
Okay.
It's kind of, there's a lot going on this road.
Yeah,
might not hurt to have a colored picture of that.
I could.
Yeah, I thought I heard you say that was all done in 2015 all the way to the west, and I thought, well,
yeah. So the original study that we did stopped right here, but that's when Trevor kind of said, well, we should really look at the rest of this, because it's not that much, 2005 isn't that much newer. And it would just be this short little stretch, along here going to the west side of the clinic that would be left. That would have to go with another project at some time. So that's why we thought it made more sense just to roll everything into one project and be done.
The other issue is coming back to a neighborhood year after year. This would be due, and most of this would all be due 5 years from now for sure. The other problem we got in here is the stripping of that chip seal. The chip seal has ruined these streets, and this is another segment that is stripping really bad, which is crumbling the top layer of the bituminous, which is then going down into the next layers of the bituminous that's out there. So it's a stripping issue. Do you take and hit these people up, disrupting business time after time after time? We heard about it on Fairview, there with the old Country Kitchen and Super One. You do them projects years after years. It's a lot of disruption to our businesses. But the city council could choose to do it differently if you want to.
I spent some time with staff once we got the report here, and I was surprised that those major roads were only 9 ton instead of 10. And Trevor explained to me that at the time we did those roads in 2000, the state, everything's kind of predicated by the state. What they're going to participate dollars wise. And their recommendation at that time was 9 ton. So to build to their specification and get their money, we went with 9. And so, I guess that answered my question of why didn't we do 10, right off the bat? And I think we do from now on. The other question was the seal coat question. And I'd asked that same question. And Trevor, you want to just not go into great detail, but what's different about our city versus another city, soil considerations, so on and so forth.
I strongly urge the city council to read everything that's in the utilities packet. I know it's a lot. The new study that's out from MnDOT research is 132 pages, I think, and it's in the utilities packet. It really explains why the stripping is happening, and it's happening for 2 reasons. It's happening because there's moisture getting below in between the chip seal and the bituminous that was there. There gets to be moisture in there, and then it causes what's called stripping, where it's peeling off, and it's peeling the bituminous off with it. But what really causes it is 2 reasons: is high groundwater in soils, which Baxter is very high groundwater on 3/4 of our city. And the second reason is because of the climate changes and the number of freeze thaw cycles that we're seeing during the winter months. If everything stayed frozen all winter, would be a lot better on the chip seals on the streets. Any type of moisture on top of the streets, liquid, is really, really bad for bituminous any time of year, whether it's winter or summer. Having water on bituminous is not good. So kind of the basics, but I do encourage you to please read that report that's in the utilities packet. And maybe we should have it. I mean, the Utilities Commission will be dealing with it. Maybe we should have it on the next council workshop and talk about it specifically. The 9 and 10 ton switched about around 2013, 2014 with the MnDOT state aid designs. And they went to a 10 ton design on all the state aid design, which a lot of these roads, most of our commercial roads, a lot of them are state aid routes. So we had to up from a 9 ton design to 10 ton. We used to follow the design standards of 9 ton, and now they're requiring 10. And like I say, it changed somewhere around, I think, 2013, 2014. I don't know if you know exactly when it changed, Eric.
No, I don't. Sorry.
And we follow the MnDOT design so that we can take and make any one of our city streets into a state aid route.
Council thoughts, comments? The numbers are big. There's no doubt about it. And, I've studied it and tried to figure out what could be left out, what could we do differently, and there still probably is something. But the scary part is that for every year we put things off, the price goes up. They tell us at least 5%. So it doesn't get better, is the whole problem. And it's not good now. It's not going to be good later either. And it just makes for really, really difficult decisions.
Mr. Mayor, I guess along those same lines to my earlier comment, I don't know if, and this is something where Trevor can definitely guide us here, is, is this worth a discussion on the bigger picture about where our big policy level points of view on infrastructure are, as far as trying to find ways that we can get what we need at a high quality as cheaply as possible at that bigger picture, as far as this stuff goes. And maybe there isn't, and we're already doing it as cheaply as we can in those ways. But I would definitely love to feel more knowledgeable on it and feel like we as a council have a really good handle on where our vision for our roads stand in comparison to the Cadillac model versus the cheapest that someone could go.
I know I'm involved in Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm involved in another road project in another governing board that I sit on. And we have been actually right now, and we have been advised that, anything dealing with fossil fuel right now, or gas prices, blacktop thing, oil prices, all that kind of stuff is going to be changed, probably significantly here in the short term and maybe even in the long term. And I think, I don't remember, I think it was Mayor Olson or somebody indicated that, putting this off is not going to come any cheaper. That's a pretty well-known fact, obviously. I guess my question would be, so help this newer counselor understand, rather than do it as a one-time or one-year project, can it be split in two and do a 2-year project? Help me with that. Educate me about it.
What would the reason be, John? Or
Just because of the cost factor? I mean, I understand that, cost factors are going to influence all of it. I understand that, but somebody indicated that this is the numbers are big. I think you said that, Mayor.
I did.
And so if they're big, obviously these projects are needed, totally needed, in my opinion. But why, can it be a 2-year project rather than a 1-year project? That's what I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
For the reason of big numbers. Trevor or Eric or whoever.
Mark has his hand up.
Yeah, I have no idea how a project would be divided.
I have a comment on that, and that is, over the years we've actually experienced lower costs by grouping projects together. And if we cut this project in half, I don't see that it's gonna save any money in the long run. And the other thing it's gonna do, it's gonna impose on everybody that uses this road inconvenience for it being torn up for 2 years straight. And I don't think we can subject people to that.
That's a good point.
Thank you for those points.
I would add the point, what we've been consistently trying to do is get around 3 million minimum. There's several reasons. And one of the big ones is that seems to be the best price point. If we go less than 3 million in construction costs, we see higher bid prices. It seems to be economy of scale is right around 3 million or more. The other thing too is for our bonding. Jeremy could speak to that a little bit, but we try to keep our bonds at a certain number too, because it costs just as much to do a $1 million bond as it does to do a $3 million bond. So there's some economy of scale with our bonding, with our financial end of it. So 3 million has kind of been that minimum that we've been targeting on an annual basis for probably since 2014. So just a little background, but I wish I had time to get into more detail, but.
I don't know if this helps or not, but a few years back, we did kind of a massive project. We did in front of Walmart, we did up Elder, and it was big. And we took a hit from people, at least I did personally. They said, well, how come you're so stupid? Why didn't you do this? And of course I have no answer for that one, but why didn't you do this over 2 years? And the simple answer really is, I'd rather have you hate me 1 year than 2 years, because if we can get through this and get it done, then we're all done. We're not bringing the equipment back and doing it in 2 phases and, move the project along and get it done with the inconvenience just one time instead of 2. The other thing, maybe John, to your point, might be that we're already on a commercial projects on full depth. We're at what, 12 years, Trevor, Jeremy? And it would seem like if there was going to be some help for people, that might be the area that could be looked at, some kind of an extension in that regard. Not necessarily drag the project out, but maybe move the amortization out. I just throw that out.
There's only 2 ways to make the numbers look better for the property owners. And one is to extend the number of years that they have to pay the assessments. And the other one is do you pick up a portion of the assessment? Does the city? We have done it for residential. Residential, we've changed the number of years that they have to pay it. And we've also changed the percentage that the city picks up. Commercial has still been 100% assessed to the property owners. So, and that's a city council policy decision, but that's how you get the numbers better for the property owners, is those 2 ways. I mean, the annual payments and the percentage that the city picks up on the overall assessment.
I appreciate all those comments and all those points. And so you did help clear my mind up for sure.
And at what point, the businesses along those areas, at what point do they weigh in, or have they already, as far as would they prefer a 12-year versus 15-year?
That comes at the improvement hearing that you would be ordering tonight on the consent agenda.
Okay.
The public hearing is at that improvement hearing. You take all the comments, and yes, then the council could switch what they do, after doing that hearing.
That's right. I remember that from the residential.
Yep. You could make policy changes, as you know, Connie, you come in to that North Forest view, and that improvement hearing was there. And we actually then ended up having another improvement hearing,
right,
because we went back and changed a whole bunch of policy.
well, maybe the commercial businesses will think this is all great. There won't be any pushback.
Trevor, or Eric or whomever, the pedestrian and bike routes along these projects, they won't change at all. They'll be enhanced, I'm assuming, and that will still, they'll still be there, correct?
They'll still be there, still the same width, still the same location, just brand new pavement.
Perfect. Thank you.
And the handicap areas will be brought up to a new code, right, Trevor?
All ADA crossings will be brought up to current code.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you didn't want to do the trail replacement, we would have to make those ADA improvements with this project.
Yeah.
This is
Well, tonight we're looking at approving what's on the agenda is moving ahead with those three particular situations. We're not making any final decisions on costs, on policies as far as assessment payoffs and that type of thing is concerned. So there'll be another other chances to deal with that. And any final thoughts or questions here, though, for staff before we move on? Or
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would just like to ask, and I don't want to turn it into anything more than right here, just whether or not our engineers have a rough guess of what the additional cost would be to look at actually narrowing that roadway at this time. Are we talking 5%, 25%, whatever that might be? Just a ballpark idea of what a significant cost, as you referenced before, would be.
Any idea, Eric?
I'm just thinking about how many structures are along there
Yeah.
and then rebuilding those. Yeah, you're probably talking, close, 150,000.
I'm thinking it's between 10 and 12% additional construction costs. Somewhere.
And just that, do you have any idea? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just kind of curious about, what extra you're talking, it would cost extra to narrow it, but then in the future, are we going to save that money, or is this a situation where it's obviously better to just stay the path for now and let that go?
That's a very good question. It's all got to do with the square footage that we'd narrow it down. It definitely would narrow down the road by a decent percentage. So that will actually save some of the bituminous costs too. So yeah, and then long term, it saves a lot of bituminous costs.
I guess on that note, you've talked me into just saying, if you think it's worth studying further, I'd sure love to know, because I just feel like this is one of those, in the long term, if we can save money over time, it might be a wise choice. So I'll leave that in your court to, if you think you can come up with something without totally ruining the project. I'd love to see just a estimate that way.
How much, Eric, would it take for additional engineering fees to do that cost estimate?
It wouldn't take. No, go ahead.
Well, I think it's kind of unfair to throw these are pretty heavy questions here for shooting from the hip, but I certainly don't have any problem with going along with you. As soon as you got something, bring it to the next meeting and give you a little more time to think it through. And so we're dealing with a little better numbers. But
what I needed though, Daryl, sorry, what I was getting at is I need the city council to have consensus that they're willing to spend another $5,000 for engineering fees to do the cost estimate. That's what I was kind of looking for. But what kind of money are we talking, Eric?
No, less than $5,000. I mean, you're a couple $1,000s. I can put together an estimate for that.
Okay, probably. So all I need from the council is consensus to spend probably $2,000 to $2,500 in engineering fees additional.
you just want a rough idea of what the cost difference would be, correct? I mean,
Right.
I'm not going to go through and actually pull quantities for that option. I'll just kind of analyze, what the reduction in costs would be.
Zach, we need to be able to figure out if it's feasible to narrow the road down.
Since I brought it up, I'll just be the one to say that on a $2.2 million project, I'm willing to get behind that idea to see if it's going to help us make a better decision on costs and the overall true cost. But that's just me.
No, I would agree. It seems prudent.
Well, it would show some savings, right? I mean, it show the savings there too.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Then we'd have it for the improvement hearing to show the public that we are looking at some other solutions too. I think it's good for the public to see.
Exactly. Good
Okay. We will move along then we got to cover the second one here too before the council meeting.
Well, I guess, Mayor, what I would suggest is based on the fact that it's 6:52 already and don't want to start into a conversation and break it up for the council meeting. We do have the other item as other business for that. So I think we will just conduct the entire thing under other business, under that item on the agenda.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds good.
Well, then Eric says 2,000 and Trevor says 2,500.
Hey, Jim, you're not on mute.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then we would have had a little more time, I guess. Anybody wants to carry that discussion further?
Yeah.
I guess when Jimmy John's gets to Baxter, then we could have ordered something in between here, but
Could have gotten it delivered in 8 minutes.
all right.
Fast, freaky fast.
Okay.
So
Well-
we're gonna cover the water interconnect right during the regular meeting?
Yeah, I would suggest doing that instead of breaking it up and starting it and stopping in 4 minutes, 5 minutes to adjourn
Yeah.
and convene the council meeting.
Okay, I'd look for a motion to adjourn the workshop.
Connie will make a motion to adjourn the workshop.
Motion by Connie,
Second.
second by Zach. All in favor, roll call.
Cross,
Yes.
Licio,
Yes.
Tabit,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Okay, we'll be back in 7 minutes. Thank you.